what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. When I God has smiled on me, He has set me free. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to scream, y'all. I want to scream, y'all. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's so good to me. Let me tell you, God has everybody. Sometimes He has set God Almighty, I feel so good. Oh yeah. One more time. Yeah. Every day of my life, I feel it. You give me strength and energy. Help me to sing. He's been good to me. Oh yeah. This is Reverend Al Sharpton of Brooklyn, New York. I've been traveling around the country talking to the radio announcers, the church people, and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If He woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how it started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. Trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me.
Monday, September the 8th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. Good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York, and it is Monday, So as Mayor Rodney Jones just texted on our message board, Hot Button Monday. He knows because he's a loyal and long-time listener and supporter and participant. It is Hot Button Monday. What is Hot Button Monday, Reverend Al? Well, I thought you would never ask. It's when you can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind, whatever is in your heart. All you have to do is call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can text us on the message board. All you have to do is go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, live stream, go to live stream after you get on the website, and you could type in a message. Peter Garcia saying, we here on the message board. James Thomas is saying, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton. Cynthia Stokes Murray is saying, good afternoon from Brown Deer, Wisconsin. I don't know where that one is. Brown Deer, Wisconsin. Well, thank you for being on, Cynthia Stokes Murray. She says, no justice, no peace. And Janet Overall said, good afternoon, friends. Have a good day. And a lot of people checking in, and I want your phone call. So much is happening. We see that this president, as he is announcing he's going in these cities, and he's changing the name of the Department of Defense and subtitling it Department of War. Show you kind of way the kinds of thinking he engages in. And then he does this meme like the apocalypse, but calls it something like, what is it, Chicagolis or something, with him in this combatant uniform. Now, if anyone was to want to attempt to take seriously his crime fighting, he has reduced it to this kind of chaotic, me against them, I'm going to take y'all to the whatever, the brink. He's done that. Him with shades and this thing on, associated like it's apocalypse. Not that I'm coming in to help citizens that I think need help, which they do in every city. And they were getting, because crime was going down in Chicago, but that doesn't excuse the crime that is being done. And I say that where I go. I was on Morning Joe this morning a couple hours. I'm against crime. Those that are committing crime are only aiding and abetting Trump and hurting blacks in our community. Let's remember now, these crimes are against us. I'm not a crime sympathizer. But the way Trump is going about it is not solving the problem. And it's against the law. So that's where I am on that. On the message board, Linda White said, good afternoon, listening at work from Dothan, Alabama. You know, Linda, you caught my eye. My mother was from Dothan, Alabama, buried there. She had me and raised us in the north. I'm a northerner, but she was a Dothan. And in fact, the last 10, 12 years of her life, she moved back to Dothan after spending 50 years in New York. So my love to Dothan. I still have a stepbrother and sister there. Candace Santana says, good afternoon, Reverend Al. Has anyone ever considering doing a prayer test? Not a protest, but a prayer test where everybody gets together and pray in the streets about what's going on in our nation. I don't think that's a bad idea. A prayer test rather than a protest. I'm going to run that by some people, see if that's viable. I think it is. Grand Rising, Wayne Lyons saying, Grand Rising, everyone from Toledo, Ohio, Nan family, and with further ado, the Honorable Reverend Al Sharpton, keeping it real, keeping it real. And thank you for that, Wayne. Let me say over the weekend, like I said, President with these caricatures threatening Chicago. And then we see that he's just been made looking seriously like inept when we see that over the weekend Putin has bombed even civilians in Ukraine. He has escalated his fight with Ukraine. So why do you say that makes Trump look bad? Because then what did Trump meet with him in Alaska about? Gave him his photo op, had him ride in the president's limousine, all of this. And this man went back and just not only did not engage in peace talks with Ukraine, he's bombing them heavier than he ever did. Trump had Zelensky to the White House after he got back from meeting with Putin in Alaska, had Zelensky sitting up in the Oval Office, brought in the heads of the foreign European countries, France and England and all sitting up there. And Mr. Putin gave him zero, nothing. Nothing. We talk about that. Bruce Turner is saying on the message page, he holds the title, but is not presidential. Well, no truer words have been said. In fact, the Court of Appeals just upheld the $83,000 judgment that Ms. Carroll has against him for sexual harassment. They had knocked down the several hundred million that is being appealed now by Tish James, but Jean Carroll, they say you can have your $83 million. So I'm sure he is not in a great mood today. Now he's got to go, because it's the top court, I believe, in the state. Now his only out is the Supreme Court, and this is going to make the Supreme Court have to twist like a pretzel, because how do they say he has immunity, for what he does as president? Well, this had nothing to do with president. This was a sexual advance. In advance of him being president, they'd have to just say the president has total immunity for him to get out of this one. So you're going to have to cough up $83 million, Mr. President. Shannon K. came with a question on the message board that I was going to bring up. And he says, your thoughts, Reverend Al, on Trump telling White House correspondent Yamiche Alcindor to shut up and calling her second rate. Yamiche Alcindor works at NBC. I known her well for years. Asked the president a question. He said, darling, be quiet. You're second-rate reporter. I think it is him being racist. He never does that to white reporters, even those he snaps at. He's being racist, petty, and shows why he shouldn't be president. I'm glad he brought it up. I was going to bring that up. I talked about it a little on Morning Joe this morning. Maureen Mo Forte says, afternoon, National Action Network, Chicago chapter. So I lost Maureen. Yeah, okay. No, Maureen Forte. So ICE is very active in the south suburbs. That's where Maureen is. We attended one of the places in Harvey. I was stopped and asked for identification in Chicago after I showed them I was an elected official. So she's talking about the harassment in Chicago. I'm going to deal with that in a minute. Let me be real clear, and I'm glad Maureen's on this case. She's an elected official out there in the Chicago suburb, head of National Action Network Chicago chapter. All by far one of the great activists of our times, Maureen Forte, related by blood to Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, who was the, in fact, leader of the Birmingham movement. But what she is saying is critical, because the difference with Washington, D.C. and Chicago is that the Washington, D.C. is a district under federal oversight. Their senators and congresspeople can't vote. They have no voting power in the federal elections other than they can vote for president, and that's that, but they cannot self-govern by Constitution. Many of us have been trying to get statehood from D.C. for years. Chicago is not under the federal oversight. So they can't just walk in there and do what they want to do. This is going to lead to some very serious confrontation. And from what I've seen, they had a huge march yesterday. There's a lot of organizing going on. I've had Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, on my show week before last. I've had the Attorney General of the state, Raul, was on this weekend on Politics Nation. This is going to be a showdown, and it should be. And I think that Trump is trying to target black mayors in blue states. It's not about, in any shape or form, about deportment of illegal migrants or about crime. It's about him saying to his base, I'm going to show y'all blacks can't run nothing and I'll override them. So it got a lot to talk about, aside from the fact I brought up Friday, and I'll repeat, the new jobs numbers, blacks are 7.5% unemployed, whites 3.7%. We like almost double black to white unemployment. So I want some of you blacks that said it's the economy. Well, look at the prices of eggs. They're going up and unemployment going up. If the migrants was taking out jobs, our black jobs, but now that he done took thousands of them out of here, why are we more unemployed than we were while they were here? Let's talk about all that. I'm going to open up the phones. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Shopton, keeping it real. Be right back.
Rev, you know you were right there
From the beginning.
with the stuff that was going on in Brooklyn at that time, at Howard Beach. You were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm, and I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm. So we've been through it all.
For those who see Malcolm X, it's 3 hours. But fast forward to the scene with yourself, Bobby Seale.
Right. Bobby Seale, Denzel, and me.
Yeah.
Denzel was on the set.
Now, let me ask a question. What was your weight on that scene?
I brought it about 270. I was bigger then.
Yeah.
Still had the hair, man.
Yeah, you had the head on.
Yeah, it was
Denzel, yourself, and Bobby Seale.
Yeah, all in one scene.
And also, there was no cut, so we went like this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Only Spike could have done that.
It's my brother right here.
My baby.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yes, sir.
Brooklyn's in the house.
BK.
I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And whenever a building is constructed, you usually have an architect who draws a blueprint. And that blueprint serves as the pattern, as the guide, as the model for those who are to build the building. And a building is not well erected without a good, sound and solid blueprint. Now each of you is in the process of building the structure of your lives. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
For 90 days, they're going to do a study of what companies have pulled out of DI and what companies have a small margin of profit. And we in 90 days are going to announce the 2 companies that we're going after. And we're going to ask everybody in this country, black, white, brown, gay, straight, woman, trans, don't buy where you are not respected. Donald Trump can't make us buy your stuff. The Senate can't make us buy your stuff. In the name of Dr. King, we're going to do what Dr. King did. Trump tweeted the other week, I'm a con man. Don't call me the coin man. I'm going to stop the coins from dropping in the wrong place.
Thing past hope. Because, I grew up, like I said, single mama on welfare. And my mother told me there's a part in life that hope's gonna run out. But she told me you got a double barrel in your engine. I said, what is that? She said, you can switch from hope to faith. Faith is a little deeper than hope. Bishop Hilliard is here. Faith is when hope runs out. Faith is the substance of things. Hope for the evidence of things not seen. Faith is when we were emancipated after 246 years of slavery and walked off the plantations with no education, no money, no future. And we built black churches and black colleges and black fraternities. We had faith. Faith made us stand up to the most powerful nation in the world and turn it around. Faith means we went from the back of the bus to the front of the White House. We come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He never failed us yet.
Stop going through your life like you are a co-star or a bit player in your own drama. No, you are the main star. You're the central figure in your life. What you decide is what is the major thrust of your life. And others may contribute, impact, affect, but it's your life that you're central in. So stop trying to lay the weight of what you do or don't do on others. That weight is squarely on your shoulders and in your hand. And if you want to defer and give your life choices to others, that's on you. If they have any sense at all, they would be so busy trying to conduct and properly guide their life, they would not have time to try to major in your life.
1 year ago and change, 67 weeks ago, we started marching every Thursday, am I right, on the offices of Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was the architect of ending DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He started it. I want to give a little history because a lot of people get Negroitis, get confusion. I don't even mind your ego. Everybody need one, but you don't have to become contrary and duplicitous. We got to have integrity even among those with ego. So we started when they first came out against DEI. Now Ackman and them started it going at Harvard University, forcing out the first black woman and first black president of Harvard. We went to his office and been going 67 weeks. I went first 10 to 12 weeks. And this brother, stand up, Reverend Ron McHenry, coordinator House of Justice. This brother has been there every week. Many of you here in the audience have marched every week. So we didn't just get in this, we were in it the day they came at Claudine Guy. Last year's convention, we dealt with DEI. This year we said that we're going at these corporations that had come out against DEI. Many of you, most of y'all I'm looking at was at the convention. And we hit Pepsi. Pepsi called and said, all right, we 8-9 days in, we agree to meet. And we went, purchased New York. Chairman of our board, Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and Carol Wallace, who's a special advisor to us on finance, and laid out to them that one, we don't care what you call it, DEI, IED. Y'all are gonna keep your commitments in terms of the black community. And that means we don't want special privilege, but we do not want to be specially excluded. This is not about we don't want merit. We feel if our people are at the table, we can beat anybody on merit in many cases. So we want from employment to your board, to how you deal with marketing, to who does your financial investment. We want to go across the board.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or twitter.com, The Rev Al, or you can go on our National Action Network.net, and you can go on our live page and live stream, I should say, and you can get a message through us on our message board, and I'd be glad to read it on the air. And I'm very concerned about the attempt by this president to have a showdown in Illinois, and particularly Chicago. And certainly I have a lot of concern about Chicago. It's a large part of my life. I grew up, my initial civil rights journey started as youth director of Operation Breadbaskets chapter in New York, headquartered nationally in Chicago under Reverend Jesse Jackson. So I've spent most of my life in and out of Chicago. When they had the serious uprise last time of crime, I got an apartment with the New Pilgrim Baptist Church with Reverend Dr. Marshall Hatch, and stayed in Chicago a couple of months, in and out every weekend. So Chicago is no passing thing to me as I deal with many issues. Last 2 weeks, I had Mayor Brandon Johnson on Politics Nation, my MSNBC show last night before last, I had Kwame Raoul, the state attorney general. But I want the real deal of what's going on the ground. And there's no one that represents truth and justice and the real deal to me more than the pastor of New Pilgrim Baptist Church, heads the Ministers Network, and they are an affiliate of National Action Network. That's our Chicago affiliate, and I'm talking about Reverend Dr. Marshall Hatch. How you doing, Reverend Dr. Marshall Hatch? I don't hear Hatch.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Tell us what's going on the ground as the president's doing these memes and threatening photos, acting like the apocalypse is coming to Chicago. The mayor's under attack, even though some of the crime metrics appear that the crime is going down in some areas. Yet we're hearing of deaths and shootings every weekend. What is really going on, Dr. Hatch?
Well, thank you, Reverend Chapman. You know, this is a city that is in a major flux over this. Of course, you know, you're very familiar with Chicago. Chicago may be a unique city in terms of the level of organizing and the capacity of doing a resistance movement to the militarization of our city streets. And so there is a lot of movement, a lot of activity. I just left another rally downtown of ecumenical clergy. People are organizing. And we're not going to submit to fascism and authoritarianism. And we're not interested in surrendering our liberties to the promise of false security. As you know, Mayor Brandon Johnson, I think, in my opinion, has been doing an incredible job. And I think the statistics, the trends of crime, and especially violent crimes going down in Chicago to almost record lows in decades, bespeaks of what it means when we invest in people and when we bring resources to communities. And so we've been stating very clearly, don't send troops, send resources if you want to help the citizens of Chicago, particularly those of us on the west and the south side.
Now, and I know when the mayor was on my television show week before last, he talked about they would not send resources, and they coming with all this. If they sent the resources rather than spending money on the National Guard, and if they were collaborating with the mayor since they are successfully bringing crime down, that would be a better solution than to try to play like you're just playing to the cameras that you're going in and try to make another black mayor look inept, Dr. Hatch.
Absolutely. And, you know, this is West Garfield Park. You've had an apartment in this area right down the street from our church. The next time you come here, I'm going to take you around and show you again. We're doing $50 million in development.
Wow.
In the footprint of our church on our campus. We'll be opening a $43 million health center, fairly qualified health center, family medicine, daycare, fitness center. Yesterday, the Mouth Redemption Project just did its $8 million groundbreaking.
Wow.
Right in the footprint of our church. And really, it's the correlation as to why the investments we had in these programs in human enrichment is exactly, you see the correlation of violence going down. And so it demonstrates that really if we're serious about issues of violence, we invest in the root causes. And so, resources matter. And everybody that understands social science knows that there's a direct correlation between investment and enrichment in crime going down when we increase the access of resources. And I can just tell you on the ground, dealing with young people, men, young women, and men every day, that when people have better options, they have the opportunity to make better decisions. And we see it every day.
All right. Well, let's stay informed by you and Reverend Ackery and certainly the network there, the Reverend Dr. Marshall Hatch. Thank you for taking time in the middle of your organizing. Let me take a break. I'll be right back. I'll open up the phones. It's Hot Button Monday. Shopton, keeping it real. Be right back. a lot of our ministry to entertainment. Or who can hoop the loudest? Who could run around the pulpit more? Or who got the dresses fancy and don't deal with the ministry? Jesus healed more people than he preached to. Because there is in the healing your message. They followed Jesus because he healed a woman with the issue of blood. They followed Jesus because Jesus saw a blind man named Bartimaeus. A lot of us would have dismissed him because he was a broke, poor, homeless, a blind man. How do you know he was broke, Reverend? Because they say he was begging. But he understood what he was doing because he heard that Jesus was passing by. And when Jesus got close enough, he said, Jesus, son of David, come see about me. They kept telling Jesus, let's go, look, we got a schedule, we got people to see. He said it again, Jesus, son of David, come see about me. And when he did it the third time, Jesus stopped and went and healed the blind man. Now, what I get out of that scripture, Bishop Daughtry, is that the blind man told Jesus, if you are who you say you are, you're going to stop and see me. Yes, sir. And if you stop and see me, you will confirm who you are. Yeah. But when we are pastoring and leading in communities with bad health, we cannot be the followers and representatives of Jesus and walk by people that are sick and we not be part of making them well.
Encourage us because where we are, we need guidance, we need direction. Reverend Sharpton, if you could please guide us and say a few words, because we just must. There's no way you're in our midst.
Baku is so special to all of us. And what has happened this week, let me tell you, Baku and Rich Dennis and the rest will not tell you, against all obstacles, they said we're going to make this happen. I was here 31 years ago when Essence Music Festival started. I've spoken at every one for 31 years. They wanted to stop this. They ended DEI. But just because they ended DEI, we will not DIE. We are indebted to these sisters because they reconnect us. You are strong not by your branches, you are strong by your roots. And the reason that this will survive is the roots that they have brought us from the motherland. Tell us that we're stronger than the waters that we had to pass over. And if we go back to the roots, we can take the waves and the storms of the ocean. Because God brought us here to save the human race. And that's why we're here. God bless Baku. Bless you, sister. Bless Reverend Jasmine Crockett and all of you that are here tonight. Hey, what's up? They got, they're doing, thank you. They're doing, what's on your mind? Yeah. All right, then, you got a birthday this week. I got to talk about that.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday this weekend. And Carrie White's birthday.
birthday, right?
Corey's birthday's today.
Yeah, and I got tell Reverend Birthday ready Daniel 5th chapter I want him to read. And I'm ready. Got a message from him today, so we'll be on the air in what? Half hour.
About a half hour.
So tune in to the WBLS 107.5 FM and National Impact and www.nationalnetwork.net. All right, I'm ready. Make sure you operate on time or I'll tell them how old you are. Oh, do I seem excited? I am excited because this Saturday, the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally starts live on WBLS 107.5 FM in New York. We're going to expand. Every Saturday morning, we're live on WBLS 107.5 from 10 a.m. to 11. You'll hear the message. You'll feel the energy. You'll be involved. You won't be sitting around talking about, oh my God, look at what's happening. You'll be involved in dealing with what's happening. I'm excited, and you should be excited to turn on WBLS 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. I have a message for you, and if you want to, you can come to the House of Justice and be there live, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. We kick off at 9, and we don't stop until we deal with getting out. Keeping it real. I am your host, keeping it real, Reverend Al Sharpton. It's Hot Button Monday. Let me say by way of announcements, don't forget and don't take for granted everybody you know knows what you know. So not only should you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday, you ought to tell somebody, tell your friends, tell your co-workers, tell your social buddies, because some of them may not know. Why do you say that, Reverend Al? I meet people all the time in the street, in the airports. Reverend Al, how you doing, man? I whatever, respect what you do. And you got a TV show, right? When does it come on? You got to tell people. You can never give people too much information. It's better for you to tell people and they say, man, I know that, than to not tell them and they don't know it and don't know to ask. Every Saturday and Sunday, Politics Nation, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, MSNBC. And I've had over the weekend the Attorney General of Illinois about these deportations in Illinois. I had Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver, who they're trying to redistrict his seat. He's the black congressman in Missouri. They're trying to get him out. Pastor's been there for many years as a member of Congress, one of the best. I had him on. I had Zoran Mamdani, who is the Democratic lead candidate for mayor of New York, and all the controversies around him. Had him on last night for 2 segments. You never know who I'm going to have on Politics Nation, but you can bet it's going to be somebody and somebody's worth your time. And so watch Politics Nation every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, MSNBC. Then you that in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally. And we about a little under 2 weeks since the march, and the rally's been packed. We're getting people ready for the follow-up, our buying shares in big corporations and going to shareholders meetings. Make sure you come Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'll let you go at 11 in Harlem, House of Justice. People from North Carolina came last week, people from different parts of the country. 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. Make sure you come. You that are not in New York or the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television or at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And we will be glad you did. Let me on the our message pad. Let me pull up Evangelist Ramsey, one of the great activists. She says, hello, Reverend Sharpton, miss you and the Nan family. Saturday was part of my church prayer walk. We stretched collectively, prayed all week, felt like I could walk on water. LOL. Be back at the House of Justice on Saturday. I was looking for you. I was wondering where you was, and I'm glad you sent the word. You know, when I come out to speak, I look over there to see where you usually sit. Let's go to Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio. Demetrius, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton. Is Demetrius there?
Yes, thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Nice talking to you as usual. I just want to speak briefly on a few subjects concerning the hearing that Robert Kennedy Jr. had last week. You know, I find it was real disappointing. They want to cancel a lot of the vaccines, but at the same time they cut back on Medicaid for people to have proper health care. You know, there's a rise in the measles, there's a rise in the whooping cough, and most of the accusations by Robert Kennedy and some of his followers and Donald Trump is not based on fact. Now, if people get sick, these diseases such as let's say autism and whooping cough and polio, you know, have a rise again, they won't be able to go to the doctor because their health care is being cut back. They have to pay part of the bill. And to me, that's a disservice, you know, to the American public, to those who can't afford health care. And all this is just based on some type of theory that Robert Kennedy just making up, because he's not a doctor himself. And the statistics shows that people benefit from some of these vaccines, especially from like fluoride. Now, you have fluoride in the water. You know, some children, you know, they don't go to the dentist. And fluoride does help prevent, you know, tooth decay and also prevent the pain that toothache may cause. And until they have proof, you know, that it's caused autism, they shouldn't ban fluoride outright and some of the other additives that in food. Because next thing they will detect pesticides being used on different farms, you know, and then people will have a shortage of certain foods in certain communities. But also, I believe a lot of this rhetoric they're using, you know, to that they're not going to follow themselves. You know, they're not going to subject their children to not having shots against the flu or against polio. They're going to do it behind closed doors, but yet they want the public not have access to it. And the way I believe this attempt to cut back on the spending on Medicare, because there's less vaccines, the less people go to the doctor, and the less they can justify cutting spending on Medicaid and other services for the poor and for struggling Americans. And also with Donald Trump, when they call it the Department of Defense, Department of War, you know, that just shows the mindset of being an aggressor. With the Department of Defense, you know, when they set that up after World War II, that was giving an example. They don't want the world to become emphasizes on Star Wars like what Germany and Japan did. You know, so they were saying this department going to be set up based on United Nations to defend ourselves, not to instigate war. So when Donald Trump will go back and call it the Department of War, that's being aggressive. Same way when it was called the Department of War, when the United States moved out west on this continent and took a lot of the Native Americans' lands. It was called the Department of War, when they were going to confiscate lands and take it away people possessions. So I believe that shows his mindset. And so, and it's very important that people realize that. And also when Black, I think he was Surgeon General of Florida, were trying to equivalate or taking the vaccines with slavery. To me, there's no equalization with that. You know, like I said before, when it comes to the vaccines, they're going to jeopardize innocent people catching diseases, you know, because of something based on theory. slavery was based on profit. It was based on subjecting people. People didn't choose to be slaves. That was something forced on people. Now, when it comes to this vaccine, this is not forced. Some of these vaccines saving people's lives, not making people. This is proven people don't get shots for polio and some of the other diseases like tuberculosis. They're going to catch the disease and they're going to pass it on to other people. So just because, they want to put a black person up there, then they're supposed to fool the black masses to go along with it. We can't fall for that masquerade, because he's a Republican and he's going on with the Republican Party in Florida. We got to look beyond that and don't fall for the disguise where they're trying to blind us to follow him to the color of his skin. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, glad to hear you and your analysis. I like that very, very much. Thank you for your call. Let's go. I see on the message pad my friend Reverend J.C. Green here in Aiken, South Carolina. Keep on keeping on, and may God continue to bless and keep you. Thank you, Reverend Green, and keep me in your prayers. I pause when I see your name because I know you can get a prayer through. Thank you for your call. Let's go to Tommy in Chicago, Illinois. Tommy, you're keeping...
We just lost Tommy. I think you're on call back. We just lost Tommy.
Oh, okay. Tommy's lost. Okay. Let me go back to the message pad. I see that Tanya... Y'all pull up Tanya.
I got Tommy back.
Tanya Stovall says to all people who think we need the National Guard all over every state, better be sure they don't get stopped and threatened by them. I think you're absolutely right. Tricia says, I agree with you, Tanya Stovall. I really don't feel safe with the ICE DSI delegation. I believe they have been infiltrated with Proud Boys and other Nazi-affiliated groups paid for by federal taxes. It's very interesting. The fear that both Tricia and Tanya are exposing is real fear, because what they're not talking about is, yes, there's been crime in some of these cities. That is, again, decreasing, as Reverend Hatch said about Chicago. But there's also been police and law enforcement abuse in these cities. And now you're putting people on. You're telling them to wear masks. You're giving them almost carte blanche. And it's inevitable now that we're going to have a situation that's going to call for us to have to step in and deal with it. And why end up with an inevitable situation that you can avoid by working with the local political leaders, funding the community projects on the ground, and avoiding what's going to end up sooner or later a problem that neither side, including all of us that are with the mayors, want to see happen. Keeping it real. Let's take a break. Shopton. Be right back. 1 year ago and change, 67 weeks ago, we started marching every Thursday, am I right, on the offices of Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was the architect of ending DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He started it. I want to give a little history because a lot of people get Negroitis and get confusion. I don't even mind your ego. Everybody need one, but you don't have to become contrary and duplicitous. We got to have integrity even among those with ego. So we started when they first came out against DEI. Now, Ackman and them started it going at Harvard University, forcing out the first black woman and first black president of Harvard. We went to his office and been going 67 weeks. I went first 10, 12 weeks. And this brother, stand up, Reverend Ron McHenry, coordinator House of Justice. This brother has been there every week. Many of you here in the audience have marched every week. So we didn't just get in this. We were in it the day they came at Claudine Guy. Last year's convention, we dealt with DEI. This year we said that we're going at these corporations that had come out against DEI. Many of you, most of y'all I'm looking at was at the convention. And we hit Pepsi. Pepsi called and said, all right, we 8-9 days in, we agree to meet. And we went, purchased New York, chairman of our board, Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and Carol Wallace, who's a special advisor to us on finance, and laid out to them that one, we don't care what you call it, DEI, IED. Y'all are gonna keep your commitments in terms of the black community. And that means we don't want special privilege, but we do not want to be specially excluded. This is not about we don't want merit. We feel if our people are at the table, we can beat anybody on merit in many cases. So we want from employment to your board, to how you deal with marketing, to who does your financial investment. We want to go across the board with that. Otherwise, if you don't want to deal with the question of diversity in how you do your business, then don't deal with diversity in your consumer base, because you don't believe in diversity. So we just will try to remove all the dollars we can from buying your stuff. In fact, I told the chairman, met with the chairman of the board, met with the CEO. I said, in fact, I learned that not from growing up civil rights, I learned that from Donald Trump. I said, what do you mean? I said, Donald Trump said he's gonna redo tariffs, that if he doesn't get what he wants for the country, they were gonna raise the tariffs. I'm doing the black tariff reverse. If we don't get what we want, I mean, y'all can't be for Trump and tariff and not be for us in the African American community with a tariff.
Democracy, that's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
Is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street.
Queen,
Stop going through your life like you are a co-star or a bit player in your own drama. No, you are the main star. You're the central figure in your life. What you decide is what is the major thrust of your life. And others may contribute, impact, affect, but it's your life that you're central in. So stop trying to lay the weight of what you do or don't do on others. That weight is squarely on your shoulders and in your hand. And if you want to defer and give your life choices to others, that's on you. If they have any sense at all, they will be so busy trying to conduct and properly guide their life, they will not have time to try to major in your life. I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI diversify. It's not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were extremely pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have a look. It's Reverend Al Sharpton. It is Hot Button Monday. We're joined as we are every Monday to kick off our week with the Democratic strategist, founder, and CEO of Blueprint Strategy LLC, and now become a frequent guest contributor on Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. And of course, I'm talking about Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
It's a busy Monday, Reverend Al, but certainly glad to be with you, and always a joy and a pleasure to be with you on Politics Nation, and always get outstanding and tremendous feedback from the time we have together, so I appreciate it.
One of the joys of having you on is so you'll know I'm not just on here making empty brags. People do watch us around the country. You hear about it when you're on.
I hear about it. I read about it. I get messages about it. I get encouragement about it. And not just from black folks, not just from people I know. There's not a time I hadn't been in the airport here recently where someone has not said anything. Just the messages and people I hear from is a clear indication and a sign that not only people watch, but they watch with intention. And I think that's important because it's easy to watch a news program, but it's one thing to watch a news program with intention.
Absolutely. And while we're there, we are not just doing it for attention. There are critical issues. And let's start getting you to weigh in on them, and I'm going to the phones. Phones are jammed. But the whole question of now the Supreme Court just now said that there's no limits to where they can do these, these ICE raids in Los Angeles. We keep seeing the Supreme Court act as one that is certifying the most outrageous stuff that Donald Trump as president is doing to our civil liberties. We see that 3 of the liberal judges voted against it, but they are saying it's unlimited. They can go where they want to go in Los Angeles. That's one. I want you to comment on 2 things. Secondly, we see that Donald Trump is not reversing himself on dealing with the question of going into Chicago, which could also end up in a legal battle. Give me your view on both of them, separate but somewhat related situations in terms of deportation.
Well, I think this Supreme Court, this right-wing activist court, has simply been an extension of not only the Trump administration, but the Trump political agenda, and majority of that is baked in or key ingredients of Project 2025. They seem, just like the Republican Congress, to rubber stamp the agenda and the mission of this president by and large. And I think that should not be a surprise, because that's why in 2016, we talked about it being the most important election of our lifetime, because whomever the president was going to be able to appoint 2 people to the court. What we did not know is that number would end up being 3, and now they will control the court for the rest of my lifetime. And so I'm not surprised by any of that. Secondly, the reason why the president is not backing down off Chicago because he's getting exactly the mileage that he wants out of it. He's diverting the attention away from the big ugly bill. The YouTube Gov, as well as the NBC polling that just came out this weekend, talked about how the bill is upside down and how he is upside down on every single core issue that are top of mind to the American people. It detracts away from the Epstein files, and quite frankly, he gets to pick a fight on an issue where he wants to back Democrats in the corner and that's on crime. And so certainly he's going to double down, triple down on crime, immigration, race, and everything else he can to distract the political conversation away from his unpopularity among his base, because those are the things that gives him joy among his base. But Rev, we also cannot ignore the fact that over the weekend, the president is now starting to take credit for infrastructure projects that were announced or that are a direct result of the Biden-Harris bipartisan infrastructure bill. He's taking down the Biden-Harris signs and now putting up his signs where infrastructure projects were announced by way of the Biden administration. And secondly, and I think I sent this to you, but I certainly want to raise this on the program, is that the Financial Times had an article that came out that talked about how Americans are going to see a 75% increase in health coverage, in the cost of health care as a direct result of Donald Trump and the tariffs. It was front page on the Financial Times. It's been one of the most popular things talked about in many circles except the mainstream media. And that's why I could not wait to get on this program to talk about it, because affordability and health care are the 2 top issues in this country.
I think that you assessed it right. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Pam, the activist extraordinaire in Chicago. Pam.
Hi, Reverend Sharpton, and hello to you, Antoine Seawright. Thank you both. Here in Chicago, we're disgusted, frustrated, but, we're going to fight back and push back legally and through civil disobedience. And Reverend Sharpton, in my own life, I have a lot going on, but I'm going to have to find some way to get out there with my sign and just show that Chicago is not afraid. We will fight back and push back. Thank God for the guest that you had, Kwame Raoul, as well as our Mayor Johnson, who are standing strong and standing fast, not only in faith, but in policy, and will use the legal system. So I know there are some things upcoming. I guess first and foremost, I'm going to say the most important disgusting thing about the person in the White House is that he's an adjudicated sexual abuser. And I don't understand, we can call it the Epstein files because that's his name. But we must talk about that this is a man that committed rape against children, 13, 14, and 15. And I think those words need to be said by everybody in the media. And it's really disconcerting that it's not, because anybody else, then that's how they would label it. But this is child rape. And I think that's what makes this important. People, it's not going to bring down a president. I don't care. But you need to know that he was best friends with this kind of person. For you, Antoine, I want to ask the question. We have the budget coming up, right, Reverend Sharp?
That's right.
It's
end of the month.
shut down. Is
yeah,
that right?
That's
End
correct.
of the month. Okay. Where do we fall on this, Antoine? Because I'm hearing that we should not agree to anything simply because the president, the adjudicated sexual abuser, is not abiding by any of the appropriations that Congress has already, appropriated, so to speak. So where do we fall down on how the Democratic Party should respond? And still, I'm waiting, Antoine. Where is we're going to repeal this big nasty bill that he put forth? That should be stated all the time. Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think I can frame the House without putting too much sheetrock on the wall by saying that the frame is simply Republicans have the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the courts. And so our defense is essentially our offense. They have more power than Pepco themselves in Washington. Pepco is the power company in Washington. So they get to control the agenda. What we get to do is control our fight. And you're going to see a different kind of fight in this budget fight than you've seen before. I know a lot of people had criticisms of Leader Schumer and how he conducted himself. I think he's going to be calibrated in this budget fight, and certainly you're going to still see the invigorated fight from Leader Jeffries in terms of the priorities that matter to people. Now, at the end of the day, they have the votes, they have the majority, and so they can do whatever they want. But what we cannot do is not show the American people that we're going to fight like hell for the priorities that matter to the American people. So I think it's important for you to be anchored down on that simple fact. The second thing I think is important to note that in this moment, being loud is what people are asking us for. They want us to show fight about Chicago, about Los Angeles. They want to show fight against Donald Trump and the Republicans, but the fight is not all in Washington. And that's why the work you're doing on the ground where you are and so many other local elected officials, that's where we're going to make our bread, if you will, in this moment, taking the fight to the streets, to the people, and using every tool in our toolbox.
And I appreciate that. And then my other question is this. I think, and you all let me know what you think about this, the Democratic Party, let's talk about the money, right, that the taxpayers are paying for these, I'm going to say, invasions. And would that help if we talk about the money that is being wasted and not going to fund schools, to help fund programs? And then the last thing I'm going to talk about, when you talk about the medical care, also what's going to increase is the denial by insurance companies for claims. Because we're talking about the cost is going to increase exponentially, but also, Reverend Sharpton, the denial of claims, that is going to increase also. And we've got to put all of that on the table, everything. And when they talk about Biden, the infrastructure project, how are they going to handle that? Because he will take down the signs. He will take credit. But I'm hoping the local officials and the state officials and the federal officials in those states will have a serious comeback and pushback. Does that, I don't know, make sense?
Go ahead, Antoine. Go ahead, Antoine.
That makes a lot of sense, and you're spot on about the denial of claims. But the one thing you may be missing is the people being able to afford health insurance, and what that's going to mean. Because it's one thing to deny claims; it's another thing for people not to be able to afford the health care. Add that on top of hospitals and nursing homes closing down because of the bill. We're going to be in a health care crisis,
including in red states. Including,
yes, and you can't get vaccines.
That's right. Including in red states. It is, they talked about how a lot of the rich would leave New York if Mandani wins, and it appears, at least today, he's still leading. They now saying they're afraid to go to Florida with no vaccines. They may have to stay here because they put their kids or themselves as seniors in an atmosphere that anybody could have something that has not been vaccinated. This is how crazy they are legislating. Let's take a break. Be right back. Thank you for your call, as always, Sister Pam. We'll be right back after this. Shopton, see right. Be right back. For 90 days, they're going to do a study of what companies have pulled out of DI and what companies have a small margin of profit. And we in 90 days are going to announce the 2 companies that we're going after. And we're going to ask everybody in this country, black, white, brown, gay, straight, woman, trans, don't buy where you are not respected. Donald Trump can't make us buy your stuff. The Senate can't make us buy your stuff. In the name of Dr. King, we're going to do what Dr. King did. Trump tweeted the other week, I'm a con man. Don't call me the coin man. I'm going to stop the coins from dropping in the wrong place.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the 2 most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you are born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor stayed right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
We have a short visit today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine. Good.
Right, last time. And we,
Alexander Shaw. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's what, exactly. That was, exactly. The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket.
Wow.
From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people from too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about it in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host, as he is every Monday. Antoine on our message board. Tricia writes, if you know people in those states that are putting off procedures like knee surgeries, pain management services, in those states, they better act immediately. And Tanya Stovall says, okay, good to know, Tricia. The fact that people now have to be concerned with Medicaid cuts and other health services being cut and a bizarre, as is the kindest word I could say, a bizarre, out of control Secretary of Health and Human Services, how much of an immediate and frontal danger is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to the people of this country, black and white, Antoine?
Well, Rev, I didn't want to say it on the TV program because I didn't want to get in trouble, but literally people could and probably will die as a result of his leadership at that agency. And that's not some exaggeration on my part, because this continued peddling of misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories, the fact that they're trying to silence science in a real way, they want to exclude and get rid of seasoned, credible professionals in the healthcare industry. People are going to die. And I think it's immediate concern. And I think we have to put politics aside on this, partisan politics, not politics, but partisan politics, because we've always viewed the HHS secretary, whether we agree with the administration in charge or not, as a bipartisan, nonpartisan thing. However, these guys are going over in the extreme in terms of what they believe or what they're trying to peddle in the atmosphere. And I didn't say this on the program, Red, but keep in mind when he took office or when he got sworn in, he cut 10,000 people from the agency. Another 10,000
right away.
Another 10,000 took voluntary early retirement or the buyout, however you want to call it, as relates to Doge. So that's 20,000 people away from an agency that was already understaffed. Can you imagine what the impact of that is going to be? So I think it's dangerous. I think he needs to resign. I think Republicans need to call for his resignation. And I also think that my party has to hold the Republican majority accountable for confirming an unqualified person to be in the job. My grandmother used to say to me all the time, Red, when I was a kid, my mom brought me a little wagon from Sears one year for Christmas, and my grandma would say, whatever you put in your little red wagon, you must pull. RFK is in the little Republicans' red wagon. They must pull it and be responsible for it.
I like that. Your grandmama must have known my mama, because I had the same I had the same admonition. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Ithaca, New York, to Karen. Karen. Is Karen there?
Yes, Karen's here. I like your show. I watch it all the time. I just wanted to know if maybe you could put in a little call-in during your show, because that would get people more riled up. I think we're waiting for something good to happen, and we can't wait till 2026.
I like that.
I'm a veteran. I've been around the world, and I don't have solutions. I heard Pam, I think it was, in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, how about a human chain around Chicago? Just so it doesn't, what are they going to do, pull another Kent State? I think protests are great, but I think it just needs to be a little bit more organized and a little bit more camera ready so people can just see that. And I just wanted to know also, why can't maybe Biden, but Clinton, Obama, Harris buy some airtime and let us know that everything's going to be okay? Everybody says just wait until 2026. We cannot do that. I want to talk about what we can do. Not as voters, great, but what else can we do? And what has everybody been doing in Washington for us? That's what they keep saying, okay, it's up to you people. And I'm thinking it's above my pay grade. I just want some more communication. People got to start. They spend a lot of money trying to get into office on TV. They need to put that money back into us so we don't end up, in Nazi Germany, because people are in denial. And it just, I only can watch your show because I don't want to watch anything else because it just, it gets me upset.
I
So
appreciate your call. I really appreciate your call. You have some great ideas. Seriously, Karen. I'm going to talk to you. I like that human chain around Chicago and some call-ins.
And the next place he goes to, he thinks he's going to New Orleans. Well,
right.
Johnson, 50% are on Medicaid and 50%, it's the highest crime.
That's right.
So I doubt he's going to go to New Orleans next. But each place he wants to go, you need to make a human chain, and then, it just gets more airtime.
I like that.
And it's united.
I like
and
that.
We're all about being united.
And
you have a lot of good people around you, and you could, not instigate, but get people to get in a bus and, go around and help people.
Yeah, I like it. I got to take my break ahead of music, but Karen, thank you for those suggestions. We need to go to work on some of those suggestions. Let's take a break. Be right back. Shopton, See Right, keeping it real. Be right back. I would argue that DEI is a result of those that by law and later by enforcement would not deal with diversity, would not deal with including people of color, gender, sexual orientation, as well as disabled. And the conscious effort by government and the private sector to begin to equalize the opportunities of this country was something that makes it more humane and fair for all of us. To DEI, diversify, is not based on the lack of merit. We could not show our merit because we were extremely pompous conservatives that talk about we want a society based on merit. Well then, if it's based on merit, then why did you discriminate based on race and gender? Until they cut off much of the population and then had merit between white males. That was what they meant, not merit. Let's have real merit, but let's also make up the ground that those of us with merit was not able to compete. Hello, New Orleans. Let me tell you straight. They did not think we could come and be here tonight. They cut budgets and advertising, but one black man, Rich Newton, said, I don't care. My families come together every 4th of July weekend, and Essence will happen, because that's who we are. Give a big hand to Rich New Dennis for bringing us back. Why do we come? Because the essence of who we are is essential to what made this nation. We built this nation. We made this nation. We created the essential dollars that this nation lives off of. We don't care what bill they pass. We will not back up. We will not back down. We will not give in. We will not be chased out. We don't care who's in the White House. We will organize our house by house.
We stand with Essence Magazine because that's who we are. So don't give in now. Yes, there's some rough days, but we've been through rougher days than this. Yes, Trump is a bad dude, but we beat badder dudes than Trump. So let's party with a purpose, because our rhythm and our music reminds us who we are. Because we can smile through our pain and organize for our gain. Let's stand up and let's celebrate who we are. Thank you, God bless you. Thing past hope, because I grew up, like I said, single mama on welfare, and my mother told me there's a part in life that hope's gonna run out, but she told me you got a double barrel in your engine. I said, what is that? She said you can switch from hope to faith. Faith is a little deeper than hope. Bishop Hilliard is here. Faith is when hope runs out. Faith is the substance of things. Hope for the evidence of things not seen. Faith is when we were emancipated after 246 years of slavery and walked off the plantations with no education, no money, no future. And we built black churches and black colleges and black fraternities. We had faith. Faith made us stand up to the most powerful nation in the world and turn it around. Faith means we went from the back of the bus to the front of the White House. We've come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He never failed us yet.
Shopton, Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Let's go to Queens, New York, the mayor of Queensbridge Houses, Mayor Rodney Jones. Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon, my shepherd. How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Hey, it's Hot Button Monday. I just great shows, Politics Nations, both Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you.
You're at New York City Mayor candidate Zoran Mamdani, and that's my hot button issue. The term democratic socialist. Now, certain politicians have been using it as a dog whistle. And I just want you to explain to the listening audience, because didn't Martin Luther King have socialist or socialism beliefs? So I don't know why they're using this term as a dog whistle, like democratic socialist, like sort of like he's a communist, or it's just like a negative connotation they're giving to the democratic socialism. You know what I'm saying, Chuck? Can you explain to the people what a democratic
first of all,
socialism is?
Democratic socialism is a form of those that believe in socializing certain government services. And I think they called Medicare socialism. They called, when FDR did Social Security, they call that socialism. And they use it as a buzzword until you break down what it is. Medicaid, Medicare, welfare, all that could be called policies of democratic socialism. And then what I think that we need to do is start saying, then when Donald Trump turns around and talks about taking over states' deportation efforts or crime efforts, is he now going back against the conservative movement about states' rights? Remember now, they said states had the right to govern everything. Now all of a sudden, now they let the federal government supersede states. So I think that we need to start pointing out to those that's trying to point things out in a slogan, simple way that people that don't want to think things through just grab it and run with it. And as you rightfully say, let's define it. Because when I say to people about socialism, well, the Medicaid, Medicare, all of that would be considered socialist. They say, oh, no, I'm for that. It reminds me a few years ago when I was on the road supporting the campaign and supporting the Affordable Care Act. And I would say to people, I said, do you support the Affordable Care Act? Sure I do. White and black. I said, they said, but I don't support Obamacare. It's the same thing. That is the Affordable Care Act, what y'all call Obamacare. So I think defining things need to happen. Secondly, and I'd like Antoine to weigh in on this, they are going to try to demonize whoever they can around the midterm elections. One, they're trying to change the district lines. That's why I had Emmanuel Cleaver on last night. That's why I've had others on. They're going to try to impact in Texas, like Jasmine Crockett and others. And they're going to try to change the electorate by coming with these boogeyman things. And they're going to use Zoran Mandani, who I believe looks like he's going to win for mayor of New York. He was on a good portion of the show last night. But even if he didn't, if Andrew Cuomo won, they're going to say Cuomo had to resign as governor for harassing women. If Eric Adams won, they're going to say he's a crook. So they got a name for you no matter who wins. What we got to do is be smart enough and big enough to keep going. I could probably fill up from here to Harlem on the names they called me, and I did not let any of it stop me. People will look at your consistency and get past the name calling. And I think you raised the right question. And I told Ma'am Danny, I said, let me tell you something. You had to live a longer time to survive the names they call me. If you are what you say you are, be that. And the people will turn that around. Antoine?
That's right. Well, I think you're right. And the general definition of socialism is when government owns the means of production. Well, when you see the Trump administration buying shares into companies, that's socialism. And so what I think that what we have to do is not let them define us, but we define them. And we let them define us on woke. We let them define us on defund the police and socialism. These words that poll well in order to scare certain parts of the American population. Well, we need to define them, whether it's criminal, whether it's sex offender, all the things that Donald Trump is and what they represent. I think we need to define them and fight. And the way you deal with a fire is not fighting fire with fire. You fight a fire with a water hose. And I think that's the lesson we have to learn instead of letting them define us.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, sir.
Let's
Thank
go
you
to
very much, Rev.
Baltimore, Maryland, to Janet. Janet.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Reverend Shelton, I have two things I'd like to ask. First is, if somebody in your organization can either tell me how to do a petition or refer me to somebody who does a petition. And I'd like to do a petition for the United States to stop giving $3 billion to Israel every year. Number one, their economy seems to be fine. The people over there seem to be living great. So why are we giving them $3 billion plus? And I remember when, I think it was during Obama's time, that somebody questioned how much we were giving to them, and they took it out of the usual foreign aid bucket and put it in the military bucket, and it kind of disappeared. Nobody knew what it was. Well, now they're talking about what it is. So, I mean, I'd like to do a petition across the country for everybody to say, stop giving them that money. You know, we need money more than they need, so stop doing it. They seem to be doing fine. And the other thing I'd like to ask is, why can't we sue the Supreme Court either individually or collectively? Is that in the Constitution that you can't do it?
I don't think it's in the Constitution. It would be what would be the first challenge is, since they're the highest court in the land, you're going to sue them in front of what court? You can't take them to court to themselves. So I would need a lawyer to advise it, but just as a layperson, I would say what court would we get standing to bring about a lawsuit against the highest court in the land? I'm not clear on that. But hold on, let me get your information, and I'll give it to someone at NAN to talk to you about petitioning. Pick her up and get her information. Okay. Let's go to Chris in Brooklyn, New York. Chris, you're keeping it real on Hot Button Monday.
How you doing, Pastor? How are you today?
I'm doing well.
All right. You know, I want to ask a question. Well, as I make a statement, we need some strong Democrats out there, like Jasmine Crockett. If we had a bunch of Jasmine Crockett's, we could turn this whole thing around. And I always thought that we had checks and balances. This guy just breezes right through them. And everybody's trying to stop him to me. He does what he wants to do. And we don't do anything.
Yeah, I think the resistance, thank you for your call, the resistance movement must be potent. That's why I think that the March on Wall Street week before last was important, because that was the first mass black-led march. No More Kings and others have not been black-led, but we participated and supported them. And all these deportation marches and protests. We just had Reverend Marshall Hatch on just now. Now, what I think we need to understand, and I think Antoine can weigh in on this, is that resistance is manifested differently. I lead protest marches. I have a civil rights organization. I do radio 7 days a week. I do television 2 days a week on the weekend, and guest Morning Joe 2 or 3 days a week, and Nicole Wallace. So I do media. I do social media. Got 2 million followers on Instagram alone. Most of these young activists don't have half of what we do. But that's what I do. I don't legislate. I don't manage a city. So I support those that do legislate, that do manage cities, that do operate in the C-suite in the private sector. And I support them, and they support me. We need to stop thinking that one of us have to do everything. If everybody does what they do best, it supports the whole. And that's what he always done. You know, Martin Luther King wasn't the only leader in the 60s. You had Martin, you had Malcolm, you had Thurgood Marshall in the courts, you had Adam Clayton Powell in Congress, you had Fannie Lou Hamer in Mississippi, you had Rosa Parks in Alabama, all at the same time. Into the 60s, you had Ed Brooke in the U.S. Senate. So we let people act like because we like a certain figure, there was only one out there. It's never been only one of us, and it's never been only one path for us. We've always been smart enough to have more than one, going more than one path, but all of us supporting the whole. Antoine?
But I think you're right, and there's a difference between style and substance. And you got to have both in this moment. And I'm a supporter of what Congresswoman Crockett is doing and the way she's using her voice. But at the end of the day, losers don't legislate. And so we can raise our voice, yell and scream, and say fancy things to the TV screen and to the radio screen. But if we're not moving the needle legislative-wise, it doesn't matter. It's just a lot of noise. And so I think we have to have multiple ways to address the issues of our day, and that requires multiple voices, and it's not a one-voice-fits-all scenario. And that's why having balance, Reverend Sharpton, is so important. Inside out, outside in, low and high, high and low.
Exactly right. And supporting each other in doing that. Because I can't tell you the amount of people that I've met with that are well-meaning, very committed, but think that noise is progress. So I go into a city, the young activists, some of the older ones. We want to meet. We grassroots people. Okay, what we want to do? Man, it's just not fair. Okay, but what is it that we're doing? They killed somebody, a policeman killed somebody, or whatever the issue is. What's the plan? Noise should support a plan if that's what you want. Media support a plan if that's what you want me to do. But if you don't have a plan, which means and strategy toward an end result, you're just playing with our people. And I think some people, everybody in the caucus don't need to do that. You have to have caucus members that get things done. Otherwise, the caucus is going to end up a choir outside. Let's take a break. Keeping it real. Shopton, see right. And I like he said that it's about style because I want that jacket he wore on Politics Nation on the other night. He can send to me FedEx. Let's take a break. Be right back.
Encourage us because where we are, we need guidance, we need direction. Reverend Sharpton, if you could please guide us and say a few words, because we just must. There's no way you're interviewing us.
Baku is so special to all of us. And what has happened this week, let me tell you, Baku and Rich Dentist and the rest will not tell you, against all obstacles, they said we're going to make this happen. I was here 31 years ago when Essence Music Festival started. I've spoken at every one for 31 years. They wanted to stop this. They ended DEI. But just because they ended DEI, we will not DIE. We are indebted to these sisters because they reconnect us. You are strong not by your branches. You are strong by your roots. And the reason that this will survive is the roots that they have brought us from the motherland. Tell us that we're stronger than the waters that we had to pass over. And if we go back to the roots, we can take the waves and the storms of the ocean. Because God brought us here to save the human race. And that's why we're here. God bless Baku. Bless you, sister. Bless Reverend Jasmine Crockett and all of you that are here tonight.
No justice, no justice, no justice, what do we want? What do we want?
question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? This is the most important and crucial period of your lives, for what you do now and what you decide now at this age may well determine which way your life shall go. And whenever a building is constructed, you usually have an architect who draws a blueprint. And that blueprint serves as the pattern, as the guide, as the model for those who are to build the building. And a building is not well erected without a good, sound, and solid blueprint. Now, each of you is in the process of building the structure of your lives. And the question is whether you have a proper, a solid, and a sound blueprint. And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
What do we want?
is our co-host. To go back to our message board, read some of our messages. I believe we have Evangelist Ramsey. I said one of our great activists. She said, but people, especially our people, can't stay in their lane. Then you have the wannabes who sit and complain in front of a camera, but don't do a thing to help. And she's exactly right. A lot of people do not understand their role, don't perform their role, and they get mad when people don't stand with them or don't follow them. But follow you going where? Ken Washington saying, replying to Master Trooper. Let me get Master Trooper up. Master Trooper saying, greetings from Antigua and Barbuda. All right, I didn't know we was on Antigua. You had started that, Antoine, before we went to break with Evangelist Ramsey said on the message board. Everybody got a lane, including those in the Congressional Black Caucus and in caucuses around the country, that state caucuses, municipal caucuses, state caucuses. Everybody in a caucus does not do the same thing. Some are like the speakers and the shake them up. Some are the legislators, some of the policy. Explain how that works, because that is how the conservative and the right wing. Steve Bannon does something different than Steve Miller, and Steve Miller does something different than George Donald Trump Jr. Explain how the multiplicity of tasks is what makes the thing work more effectively.
I always use the John Lewis. But they both needed each other. And he went on to say, consider the cost. The tire stem is just as important as the engine. The transmission is just as important as the windshield wiper, because if one of those things is not operating at its maximum capacity, that means the car is not operating at its maximum capacity, which means it's not being efficient and effective. And that's how the Congressional Black Caucus has always been. From Charlie Rangel to Lou Stokes to some of the other Turtle children to some of the other families, they all play a role, but that role all fit back to one single goal, that was to legislate and move our people forward. And in this day and age, and again, I have nothing against Jasmine Crockett. I'm glad that she is where she is and what she's doing. But also remember the lesson of Alexandria Ocasio.
Let's go to the phone. Let's go to Tommy in Chicago. Tommy, you're keeping it real with Shopton and Cedar.
reality. The reality of the circumstances is for everyone who spoke up against the absolute lawlessness of this individual sitting in the White House is out of work. And watch this, in 1 week, this man accused everybody. Everybody. And then watch this, not making any of these things to have a meeting and you so much is when you end your shows ever since you've been on the TV, and you know what you say when you end, Rev. I could never say it like you, but you just would say in closing, this is a got you moment, because how damn dumb can you be? Goodbye.
All right, thank you for your call, and let me go to Andre J in Chicago. Andre J, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton and Antoine C. Wright, my co-host.
Hey, good afternoon to you, Reverend Sharpton. Good afternoon to you, Mr. C. Wright. I want to, what prompted me to call in was I heard part of a conversation concerning socialism. Well, look, Rev, just because we can legally carry guns don't mean we got to tell people where we carry the gun at. Okay, Ramandani, he can have these policies, but he don't have to say it, and other people around him don't have to say it. Because I can think back when Bernie Sanders got in trouble for talking about the socialized things that Fidel Castro did. But he was talking about the good things Castro did. But when he talked about the good things that Castro did, the Cuban people got mad with Bernie Sanders because they say he ignored his civil rights record. So they felt like Fidel Castro had a bad civil rights record, even though he did these other good things with education. So if Ramandani feels this way about these policies, the Democrats and everybody need to shut that term down. It's like I said, just because you can legally carry a gun don't mean you tell people where the gun is at. Stop calling it socialism, just name the program that you're doing, because a lot of people find that as a red flag, and it's also will make Mamdani the poster boy for the Republicans during the midterm and the other elections. They're going to paint all of the Democrats as being socialists, and it's not fair. You know, I agree with a lot of the programs, but do we really have to say that? Do we have to call it socialism?
I think
because it's not that don't win on no vote.
In fairness to man Danny, is that he did not come out and say he was running as a socialist. He said he was running as a Democrat. They went and researched that he had been involved with the Democratic Socialists, and they brought it out, and he didn't deny it. And I think that once somebody brings out some truth, you shouldn't deny it. You should own it and go forward with it. I understand your point, and I agree they're going to make him a poster boy. But they would make Cuomo a poster boy. If Cuomo won, I want y'all to hear this, they will say a man that had to resign from governor for sexual harassment is the candidate. All right? Secondly, if Eric Adams won, they'd say a man that made a deal to get out of indictment is a candidate. So any one of them would be a poster boy. The question is, who would be the best mayor?
You're absolutely right, Real, but here's the thing. Now, yeah, you're right. They could make a poster boy out either, but I'm about winning, like C-Wright is about winning, and we have to do what's going to pull in votes. I don't see how saying certain things is going to pull in independence and bring some Republicans in to vote.
No, I don't think you heard what I said. He didn't say it. They brought it out about him, and he didn't deny it. If he denied it, then he's a liar. So, no, I don't think that we can put that on him. I really don't. But thank you for your call. Let me go. Let me read. Saint wrote on the message board. Thank you, Reverend Al Sharpton. We can hear you good now. We had the sound mess up a little. I'm multitasking, Antoine. I got live feed on our webpage and our live stream, and we got our radio. And I did 2 hours of Morning Joe this morning, and y'all thought I was retiring. Let's take a break.
Reb, they call that blocking and tackling. You're
That's
doing a
right.
good job.
Blocking and tackling. Keeping it real. Shopton. Be right back.
So we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in.
Yes, sir. We want to go with gold.
Yeah.
We was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation.
Wow.
And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine.
Right, last time. And we,
Alexander Shaw. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have the slave.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket. From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James. Yeah. Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people come too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And where I knew Jesse was from James. I started Brevard.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and helped me push the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told him, you know that my great-grandfather was a slave about 40, because Greenville right up to I-20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But
My name is Ashley Sharpton. I'm the director of National Action Network's Youth and College Division and founder of Names Youth Huddle, and the youngest daughter of Reverend Al Sharpton. The Bible says in Daniel 3 that 3 Hebrew boys refused to bow to the empire statue. That is our posture. We will not bow. To book bans, to voter purges, to DEI rollbacks, to the erasure of our history, we will not bow. Dr. King dreamed so we could wake up and stay up. Reverend Jackson pushed to keep hope alive. And Reverend Al Sharpton defined this era of no justice, no peace. From Bensonhurst to Wall Street, Reverend Sharpton was cut and kept marching. He was mocked and kept showing up. He turned weekly rallies into national policy and pain into possibility. That is vision, that is sacrifice, that is leadership worth following and becoming. So I ask you, when your children ask what you did in the Trump years, what will you say? Did you scroll, or did you show up? Did you whisper, or did you march? If you choose legacy over likes, say it with me. We will not bow. We will not bow. To fear, we will not bow. To lies, to greed, to fear, to Trump. And today we follow the man who has never bowed. The man who stood on front lines when it wasn't safe, who turned pain into policy, who carried Dr. King's dream and Reverend Jackson's fight into the streets of our time. He is not just David's slingshot. He is David himself, steady and ready to take on Goliath, not hoping but knowing that giant will fall. He is the visionary who saw this march before others understood it, the leader who sacrifices carved the path for us to walk, and the prophet of economic justice in our generation. It is my honor to present to you, not just my father, but our leader for this day and time, God's messenger, the truth teller, the soul reacher, the liberation seeker, and truth teacher, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? 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 We won't go back. We won't go back. We won't go back. All right. They said 62 years ago that the dream that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke about was a dream that died in the late 60s. But there were those that kept on fighting. And we went from a balcony in Memphis that killed a dreamer to having a black family on the Truman balcony at the White House. We never stopped dreaming. But now that we have an anti-dreamer, one that wants to cut the tax rate for the rich and have cuts in Medicaid and SNAP pay for it. Why do we come to Wall Street benefited from Trump? We come to tell you your benefit days are numbered. We're not going back. You said, well, we have a couple of hundred people. We were blocks long, thousands marched. We marched towards your offices because we know your address. And we're going to march and keep coming to you until we turn the economic inequality in this country around. We're not going back. Let me tell you something. The fact of the matter is the first thing traded on Wall Street was black bodies. The largest two ports for slave trade in America was Charleston, South Carolina, and Wall Street, New York. They stood us up right in this area and sold us like a bar of soap, sold us like we were some inhuman particle. But we come back the children of our ancestors. We come back ready to vote, ready to spend our dollars. We're not slaves anymore. We're not going back on the slave market. Donald Trump, get ready for the fight of your life. Somebody said, you can't fight Trump. He got too much power. He has the majority of the Supreme Court. He has the majority of the U.S. Senate. He has the majority of the House of Representatives. Yeah, but there's something he doesn't have. I'm your host.
You don't realize that
Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is my co-host today, as he is every Monday at this hour. 1-877-532-57 888-978-9797. Let's go to Todd in Cleveland, Ohio. Todd, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yes, sir.
Antoine C. Wright.
Yes, sir.
I got a question behind this, but I want to make these comments. I often talk about the importance of civics education in this country. When I was listening to Antoine,
go ahead.
When I was listening to Antoine talk about how Trump has replaced some billboards that reflected the actual work that the Biden and Harris administration did with infrastructure proposals and implementation, and put his name on it, it is a reminder to me to remind the public that your civics education is important, because you won't fall victim as easy to the sensationalism that people will put in front of you through government. Trump's replacement of his name in place of those names on those billboards is an act of sensationalism. But if you go back and read how the infrastructure works that are being put in place through the federal government will put into place, it doesn't matter whose name gets put up or what somebody tells you. You have a record of the work through your understanding, through your civics education. So it's good that he brought it up to let people know that this is going on through sensationalism, but it's also good that I bring it up to you as a public, that you have to be a good reader of what is actually going on in your government. It is your civic responsibility to know the facts. So having said that, I'd like to ask you these two questions. Why do you think that the Trump administration has control of the courts? I've seen them lose numerous cases in the federal courts. Then I have a second question behind that.
Wait a minute. Let me understand the first question. Why do I believe what?
Antoine said that they got control of the Congress, they got control of the executive office, and they got control of the courts. And I was like, no, I don't really think they got control of the courts.
Okay.
They're losing a lot of cases in courts. So I wanted to know what brought them to that conclusion.
What's the second question?
Well, what brought me to that conclusion, sir, is a simple fact that they're winning. We are the rule of law is prevailed in many of the lower courts, but when they bump it up to the upper courts, the Supreme Court, we tend to lose the cases that we're losing in the lower courts. And a lot of these state cases or issues that normally been set up by state law at the legislative level, they get contested. They go to the circuit court, the appellate court, etc. Then they get up to the upper courts, and the upper courts lay down the hatchet. And so when I say they control the courts, that's what I mean by they control the courts.
And you feel like they're winning more cases on the federal level than they are losing?
I think they're winning more consequential cases. Voting rights is going to be the next test. And we've seen some of the other big rulings. For example, Reb opened the program with a ruling they had today about California. We've seen them give Trump the ability to fire people from the government, shut down the Department of Education. So many other things that have traditionally not been things. We saw Roe v. Wade overturned. I wouldn't be surprised if they go after same-sex marriage. I mean, the fear about the court is probably now worse than it's ever been before because of the rulings we've seen. It's not so much of how many; it's the gravity in which they're ruling.
Okay, I wanted to know how you got to your conclusion. That was my question. The final question is this: Chicago just crossed 1,400 shootings this weekend. I'm hesitant to believe that the National Guard should be pushed in there. I do see a major advantage of them being there. Chicago's different from D.C. I was in complete favor of them being in D.C. Where are you at with the value, if at all, of the National Guard coming into Chicago, considering they just crossed 1,400 shootings for the year of September?
Well, I'm not sure if the question is for me or for Red, but I'll take a stab at it. Okay, so my position is this. I am definitely pro-law enforcement, and I'm pro-dealing with crime. What I am also is anti the misappropriation or misuse of law enforcement. When President Trump said he's sending law enforcement to Washington, D.C., I live part-time in Washington. You know where most of those folks are camped out at? At public open areas, like at public parks, the subway, up at Lululemon area in Georgetown, and so forth. They're not in the very crime-heavy areas of Washington. So that's not to say crime doesn't exist, But also, I'm of the opinion that if you really want to do something about crime, why don't you work with the local officials on the ground to address the issues and to assess what the needs are? If you have not coordinated with the mayor of the city, if you have not coordinated with the local police chief, if you have not coordinated with the governor, how are you going to come into another community and tell them what's important? You may send people down Street A, and the problem may be on Street B. And then you have to send the folks who are certified to deal with those issues. All my friends in the National Guard will strictly tell you that's not their training, and that's not what they are trained to do. But yet you want to stick them in harm's way that could cause long-term damage and even bigger problem to the issue. If the president really wanted to deal with crime, he would deal with it from a legislative standpoint, working with local officials to deal with it, and put an investment into dealing with crime, not using the crime as a political tool.
Do you recognize the value of the National Guard being in Chicago under the proper coordination with the city government? Do you recognize the value of that? Because they would serve to some degree as preventative actions of crime.
Well, I think when the National Guards come into a city to deal with crime, what they do is they take over the paperwork, if you will. I'm not trying to downplay the role of the Guard, but they take over some of the administrative duties of the department when this happens, and that essentially frees up those who are on administrative duties within the department to get out into the streets. And so the perception and the reality of what that looks like is a lot different. And so if the president wants to work in coordination with the mayor and the governor and those and local law enforcement to do something about issues, fine. That includes giving them proper resources to do this on an ongoing basis, because as Wes Moore said, I've said, and others have said, what they're doing in Washington is not sustainable. $1 million a day operation is not sustainable anywhere in the country.
Okay. Reverend Sharpton, that is what LaShawn Ford and John Fritchie, the state reps in 2010, were actually talking about, the state reps in Chicago. They were like, if they could bring the Guard in to just pick up on the administrative tasks, that will free up a lot of officers' time to get out there and patrol and investigate. And
but Todd, coordination means cooperation.
Correct.
And the only way that could happen, that the Guard come in and be limited to just administrative work to free up the police to do the police work, is that the federal government, led by Donald Trump, would agree that's the role he's sending them in there for, which I think is not going to happen. You got to remember, Trump is the one doing cartoons or memes about the apocalypse, calling it Chicagolis and all of that. He's mocking the people that he's going in to see. So this has nothing to do with crime. This has everything to do with politics and posturing. But thank you for your call. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Shopton, C-Right, be right back.
My name is Ashley Sharpton. I'm the director of National Network's Youth and College Division and founder of Names Youth Huddle, and the youngest daughter of Reverend Al Sharpton. The Bible says in Daniel 3 that 3 Hebrew boys refused to bow to the empire statue. That is our posture. We will not bow. To book bans, to voter purges, to DEI rollbacks, to the erasure of our history, we will not bow. Dr. King dreamed so we could wake up and stay up. Reverend Jackson pushed to keep hope alive. And Reverend Al Sharpton defined this era of no justice, no peace. From Bensonhurst to Wall Street, Reverend Sharpton was cut and kept marching. He was mocked and kept showing up. He turned weekly rallies into national policy and pain into possibility. That is vision, that is sacrifice, that is leadership worth following and becoming. So I ask you, when your children ask what you did in the Trump years, what will you say? Did you scroll, or did you show up? Did you whisper, or did you march? If you choose legacy over likes, say it with me. We will not bow. We will not bow. To fear, we will not bow. To lies, to greed, to fear, to Trump. And today we follow the man who has never bowed. The man who stood on front lines when it wasn't safe, who turned pain into policy, who carried Dr. King's dream and Reverend Jackson's fight into the streets of our time. He is not just David's slingshot. He is David himself. steady and ready to take on Goliath, not hoping but knowing that giant will fall. He is the visionary who saw this march before others understood it, the leader whose sacrifices carved the path for us to walk, and the prophet of economic justice in our generation. It is my honor to present to you, not just my father, but our leader for this day and time, God's messenger, the truth teller, the soul reacher, the liberation seeker, and truth teacher, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? 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 We won't go back. We won't go back. We won't go back. All right. They said 62 years ago that the dream that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke about was a dream that died in the late 60s. But there were those that kept on fighting. And we went from a balcony in Memphis that killed the dreamer to having a black family on the Truman balcony at the White House. We never stopped dreaming. But now that we have an anti-dreamer, one that wants to cut the tax rate for the rich and have cuts in Medicaid and SNAP pay for it. Why do we come to Wall Street benefited from Trump? We come to tell you your benefit days are numbered. We're not going back. You said, well, we have a couple of hundred people. We were blocks long, thousands marched. We marched towards your offices because we know your address. And we're going to march and keep coming to you until we turn the economic inequality in this country around. We're not going back. Let me tell you something. The fact of the matter is the first thing traded on Wall Street was black bodies. The largest two ports for slave trade in America was Charleston, South Carolina, and Wall Street, New York. They stood us up right in this area and sold us like a bar of soap, sold us like we were some inhuman particle. But we come back the children of our ancestors. We come back ready to vote, ready to spend our dollars. We're not slaves anymore. We're not going back on the slave market. Donald Trump, get ready for the fight of your life. Somebody said, you can't fight Trump. He got too much power. He has the majority of the Supreme Court. He has the majority of the U.S. Senate. He has the majority of the House of Representatives. Yeah, but there's something he doesn't have. He don't realize that our grandparents and our parents fought when they didn't have a right to vote. They fought when there were segregation laws. They fought when, as slaves, it was against the law to read and write. We are the most educated and refined African Americans in the history of this country. If we could fight when we had nothing, we can fight with what we got now. Some say, well, Reverend Al, use this strategy, use that. It reminds me of Saul in the Bible after they thought David wasn't fit to fight. David was just a shepherd boy. David had never been to boot camp. David had never been military trained. When they finally said, all right, he keeps insisting to fight, let him fight, Saul said, well, use my sword and use my shield and use my helmet. David said, no, I don't need your stuff. I got a slingshot and a few smooth stones. Trump, don't let the folk around you tell you what we gonna fight you with. We come to Wall Street without slingshots. You don't know how we gonna fight. We gonna meet you at every turn. We gonna meet you at every ballot box. We gonna meet you at every time you take the Dow Jones. We gonna factor in. We gonna take our dollars where we respect it, and we gonna close down where we're rejected.
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Don't forget, watch Politics Nation every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. And you never know who I'm going to have on. Guy said to me, I guess about, what time was it? I went on Morning Joe's 7, about 6:45 this morning I was going in. Said, I heard you had Zoran Mamdani on your show last night, Reverend Al. The guy just passed by at 30 Rockefeller Center early in the morning, barely sunrise. I said, yeah. He said, I didn't know that. I said, that's why you ought to watch every week. You never know what I'm going to do. And we are not going to waste your time. And, of course, 5 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday and Sunday. And, of course, you that are in the tri-state area, Connecticut, New Jersey, and, of course, New York, should meet me at the Saturday Action Rally. The big march was a little under 2 weeks ago. We've been mobilizing since, moving toward the next move of buying shares in corporations and going to shareholders meetings en masse. We're going to keep the pressure on as well as we mobilize and organize around these deportation states and redistricting states. So come to the Saturday Action Rally at the National Action Network at 145th Street and Lenox Avenue in the village of Harlem. And, of course, you that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television. All right, let's go to Atlanta, Georgia, Antoine, to Tony. Tony, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and Seawright.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Brother Sharpton. How are you and Reverend Seawright doing?
I'm doing very well.
Awesome, awesome. I just have a question. I'm not sure if anyone else has brought this up or not, but I'm concerned that anybody would entertain canceling mail-in voting when, you know, our commander-in-chief, commander-in-draft dodge would disenfranchise all the military people, including those that are, you know, being deployed by the National Guard, would prevent them from being able to participate in voting. They cannot possibly return from their duty station to vote in person. So why would anyone allow him to entertain not having the ability to do mail-in voting?
Antoine?
Well, I think we have to be mindful about what they're doing as relates to what they're trying to do as relates to voting on the whole. We talked about this last week, but what the Supreme Court did in Shelby versus Holder in 2013, what they are going to do likely as it relates to Section 2, what they're doing as it relates to redistricting, what they have done in terms of purging rolls and so forth, the whole kit and caboodle, if you will, what they're doing with voting. And then the president trying to scare people, saying that he wants to eliminate voting at the federal level when we all know that states control elections, and that's by way of the Constitution. So I think we have to be mindful about some of the stuff they're hinting at and what they're trying to do, but also realistic in controlling what we can control. And I think that attorney generals in democratic states are going to be critical fighting back against any effort to silence and suffocate voices at the ballot box.
All
right. So let me just say this about Georgia. May I just add one thing?
Go ahead.
Reverend Al. In Georgia, they purged over 470,000 voters. And some of it's because they send things out and the the physical address may have changed, or it could have missing the direction. And if the person didn't receive it, then they've been eliminated from the rolls because they never received it to make a change. And the other thing is, when we have these elections, they require, the real ID. And it's just been hard for some people to obtain the documents they need. But I appreciate all you all are doing, and thank God for each of you and the role that you each play. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your call. Let's go to Detroit, my main man, labor organizer extraordinaire, Percy. Brother Percy, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Ray.
Well, man.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can hear me good. Thank you, man, for taking my call, Reverend C. Wright, man. So I understand what you're saying about we have lost the the court system, and I'm feeling that you're saying we have, by us losing the power of decisions that we would prefer to have coming from the Supreme Court. And my understanding is that any of the lower courts, federal courts, if they make a decision, it can go to the Supreme Court and they can overturn that. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's the point I was making. They are overturning many of these cases that people think that we are winning at the lower court level.
Right. So that's the part, gentlemen, I wish you would kind of understand that that's what you're referring to. We might be winning these little cases federally, but hey, they realize the administrator, the Republican majority that's in Congress, and Donald Trump realized that they can bump it up to the Supreme Court, and all that lower court decision can be turned against our favor.
And they're doing that. And that's what they're doing. That is why that it is so imperative, and we tried to tell people this, that we elect a president that will put people on the Supreme Court that'll be fair. Doesn't mean that when the Democrat puts somebody on, they're going to vote Democrat all the way, because that is how we've had Democrats on the Supreme Court that voted against Democrat presidents. But these people that Trump put on have, for the overwhelming majority of the time, voted the way Trump would want. They were vetted through the Senate confirmation hearings that that's what they were going to do. Let's not forget the history here. Barack Obama nominated a man for the Supreme Court. They stalled, said you shouldn't do it during the election year, would not confirm him. When Trump won the election, they expedited and 1, 2, 3, stacked the Supreme Court. And we told people that's what he's going to do. One of the reasons that I'm so hard on some of the people that didn't vote or that voted for Trump is it wasn't like we didn't tell you this was going to happen.
Right. And that's that part, Reverend Mel. I mean, you nailing it, man. It's like, people, we lost the election. Sure, they did some things with Persian names and all that, but the numbers, people that we won with, I want to say that again, the numbers, people that were eligible Democrat voters that we won with did not come out and vote this past election. When Trump won this past election, we did not turn out in the numbers, people. So we got to encourage each other to start realizing, and I'll go along with the gentleman's talking about civic knowledge, which is true, because we got to start understanding the powers of the Republicans and the Democrats in majority in the cabinet positions, not cabinet position, but Congress position, when they have the majority power, whether it's Republican or Democrats, They the ones that to decide what we can bring to keep our country running the way it should be. And right now, we don't have the majority power. The Republican Congress have the power really to stop Trump of doing what he's doing, but by them all being on the same accord, that's why all this stuff is being done. We can flip that. Reverend Al, I can't wait till 2026, man, because I'm going to be boots on the ground telling people why y'all need to get our vote. We can take the Senate, man. We got 22 Senate seats going up for election. We can get those seats from these Republicans if we turn out in the numbers that we have of registered Democrats to flip them doggone seats.
Well,
and
I think that the first thing, and I totally agree with what you're saying, but the first thing we got to realize is that they did not beat us. We beat ourselves.
Right.
We had the numbers to win, and Kamala Harris lost by 1.2%, something like that. We had enough people in Philly and Pittsburgh that if they had turned out, they would have turned Pennsylvania around. So we had done it to ourselves. Now, don't just wallow in the crap that you caused. Say, fine, we made a mistake. Let's organize, let's mobilize, and turn this around. So it's not about just finger pointing. It's about saying, I got to take responsibility. Now I got to correct it, because this man, wasn't like we didn't know. They wrote Project 2025. They told you what they were going to do.
Right.
And they're doing it.
And Reverend Mel, you say it better than anybody. If you take a punch and get knocked down, it's your fault if you stay down on the ground and you don't get up and punch back.
That's right.
You know, so we done took a hit, y'all. Okay, but get up and let's punch back and let's win this thing and make our country the way it's supposed to be, so we can have liberty and justice for everybody. And not this dog, you know, and that's the other little point I got. You know, I feel we really lost the election because of white privileged voters that wanted to keep America so they can have an advantage, thinking that they weren't going to get affected with the policy of the Republicans being the majority of Congress, that it would hurt them. And now that they don't realize it's hurting them, like Reverend Barber say, y'all got to start. They got to start realizing how they are voting against the interests of their families and their loved ones, and they keeping themselves down.
That's right. All right, I hear the music. I got to go.
I could just say to our dear friend and our caller, please remind yourself and everyone else, 2026 is important, but 2025 is how we stay alive.
All right. There's a lot of elections in 2025, and you cannot straighten out the fix in 26 if you don't come alive in 25. Let's get ready to go. Let me thank Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.